Today, we're going to look at water in some of its different forms. Our experiment can be done using a few items we have here at home, and will allow us to exercise some important parts of the scientific method, such as hypothesizing, observing, and concluding. We're in the middle of a seasonal phase that here in Alaska is often referred to as breakup season, and is used to describe the process of snow and ice breaking down into its liquid state. Of course, some ice and snow can evaporate back into its gaseous form. Our interest today is with water. As we enter into the unique season, we're offered a front row seat in watching some of the most noticeably natural, large-scale changes that our planet has to offer. For this experiment, we will need masking tape or duct tape, a marker, 3 clear, closable jars with lids, access to water, access to ice cubes, access to snow, crayons or colored pencils, a pencil for writing, and a printed version of the Observing Breakup journal accessible by the link in the video description below. If you haven't downloaded and printed the journals yet, you can pause this video and do it now. If you have the journal printed, your coloring and writing utensils handy, let's start with making our prediction of what we think will happen by coloring in the areas of the jar on the prediction page of where we think the water line will be after all is melted. Go ahead and pause the video and do this now. Next, let's label each jar by placing a piece of masking tape or duct tape on each lid, and then writing what the contents will be on the tape of that jar. After this is done, we should have 1 jar labeled snow, 1 jar labeled ice, and 1 jar labeled water. Do this now. We will begin by filling our first container with water, after which we can place the lid tightly on the jar. This jar will be our control variable. A control, or constant, is the part of an experiment that doesn't change. Pause this video and do it now. Our second container will be filled with snow. So step outside and find a nice, untouched patch of snow that you can use to fill your jar completely while still being able to close the lid. Mike, one of our other instructors, shares with us a note about cleanliness and good practice when hunting for snow. How about it, Mike?
As you young scientists prepare to see what happens to snow when it gets warm, please keep a few things in mind. As you're looking for snow, most snow is really good to use, but beware of that yellow snow.
And finally, our third container. Our third container will be filled with ice cubes. These need to be cubes of ice and not shavings. We want there to be plenty of air around the cubes, and then we can close the jar. So, where does that leave us? Well, we have 1 jar of water, a jar of snow, and a jar of ice. Over the next couple of hours, I want you to observe what happens to these jars. We know that the snow is going to melt, obviously. But how much faster or how much slower is the snow going to melt in comparison to the ice? Every couple of hours, go ahead and observe your experiment and write those observations down in your journal. After everything is melted, go back through your journal and read through some of your observations. While reading through some of those observations, see if you can figure out why 1 jar may have melted faster than the other. And if I do this experiment again, will I get the same result? And remember, the whole reason we did this experiment was to practice our powers of observation, and to get outside and have some fun.